What is the number one thing that we avoid when we're going to work, whether we go to the family environment, whether we go out in the community? What is this number one thing we complain about? You know it. I know you know it. We are afraid to change. I went into work, probably this is coming into a brand new bank up in Green Bay, and it was amazing the mindset. Everybody was doing their work, right? There's no problem with that. People were doing work. People were checking off items all day long and then doing to the best of their ability to handle problems that arose. But one of the things they never thought about was change. Change the process, evolve the process. That's the things we don't do. And that's where we get into trouble. We take this mindset that everything is okay. How many times have you said, when somebody asks you how you're doing and you're feeling a little sad, oh, everything's okay? I know, I've been there. Oh, it's fine, I'm great, I'm fantastic. But deep underside is I'm not well. I'm not doing well. I'm kind of like stuck. Have you been stuck? Is it because your mindset is set to be encompassed in what you have, what you're already at? And you're thinking, well, it's got to be better. It's going to get better. And yet it doesn't. I look at it this way. We tend to be busy. We tend to be busy with everything that we do in the day. We tend to be busy with work, with all the items on our checklist. I got to go to the bank. I got to go get groceries. I got to go to the car wash. I got to go meet my friends for coffee. I got to go take care of Susie to drop her off at daycare, and I've got to go to take Johnny to school, and deal with a teacher. And we're just busy. Henry David Thoreau had this to say about busyness. It's not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? What are we busy about? So number one, leaders recreate from within. Well, that means change. But where you have to overcome the change barrier in order to be able to climb. So we've talked the last 2 days about recreating within, and also yesterday about talking about climbing, about taking the team, taking the family, taking it to the next level. And that's the number one stumbling block, is getting going, is the willingness, the belief that we don't need to change, that we abhor change. 10 years ago today, a little device was brought forward to the marketplace. It's not this device, but this one was a result of that device. That device was the iPhone. The iPhone first appeared 10 years ago. Can you believe that? 10 years ago. Look at what has changed in our environment. Remember those flip phones we used to have? We could barely read the menu. It was maybe this big, maybe that. Yeah, we've gone past that. Now we want bigger. This is for some people not enough. They need a larger size, the Galaxy Note, or, the other tablets like iPad. They want to read their email, want to interface with Facebook, and, all that came about because of the iPhone, or was enhanced, right? Long ago, we had social media. Nobody knew it as social media. I was long on the platform called CompuServe, and there was AOL, and MSN had its own little program, and there were other dial-ups. Can you imagine dialing up? What we do today, in essence, but through a modem, and making sure that we're getting the right speed and waiting forever for the things to refresh, and then having to remember how to navigate. And yet so much has changed today. Why? Because change happens. People have the foresight, people think into where it is that we need to go. What will be the needs of our future? Right now in the car lineup, the hot things you may have heard, pickups are coming back. Ford is going to retool and get ready, get up to speed because they've been lagging. A couple other car companies, our auto companies are making pickups and, many packages and really building it up. And then what's the latest hot trend? Well, it's not pickups, it's the fancy hot hatches, 3 or 5 doors, and really scooped up with, with the various accoutrements of, the fins and the foil on the back and, things that we had long ago. But, we're talking specifically now that it's built a new trend. So change happens whether we want it or not. How are we going to deal with it? We have to be open to it. And yet, when I found walking into that organization, change wasn't happening. Change was, oh man, we're going to have to come up with new processes. We're going to have to do new work. We're going to have to do work. It's not about the work. It's about the relationships, about how we serve each other. When I deal with business managers, business leaders, business owners, some of them are thinking ahead. Some of them are just thinking about how to get to the next day. Been to a couple drive-thrus. You may, there's some restaurants here in town, and you look at it and you say, people are just going through the day. They hope the menu never changes. They hope that the day goes by quickly and they have to do very little work. That they'll be happy if nobody shows up. They just get paid and they go. And they don't want problems. They don't want to think about, how do we better serve our customers? All these coupons. I hate these coupons. I hate this. I hate that. I don't want to change. But if we don't change, if we don't overcome this mindset that change is bad, that really change is good, that we are called to evolve, everything is called to evolve. Everything is evolving, some of it in our control, and our lives are in our control. Some of it is by external factors, absolutely. But there's 10% that are external. John Maxwell mentioned this in one of his books, but it bears repeating. 10% is the environment forcing us to change. 90% is how we react to it. So if we control the 90%, the 10% won't matter. We'll be able to be open to it. We'll be able to be open to the person walking into the room to say, hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here today. That's what we need to overcome. We have to get out of this mindset, I'm not getting paid enough. We have to get out of the mindset that we get the reward and then we can perform. No, we're called to perform. And then we'll see the benefits of that. Faith plus works equals fruit. Faith in ourselves, faith in our abilities, belief. So Eric, I was listening to one of my good friends, he's a John Maxwell team coach and good friend, Eric Reed. And Eric put forth this one, it's just one belief to make a change. If you want to make a change, look at your beliefs. Which one is it that needs to change? So I posed this question to you. He posed it to us. I've got it here, and I want to make sure that you hear it all and take it in. If one belief can hold you back, what one belief can I adopt, can you adopt to make a difference, to transform our world? How can you make a difference? How can you go and work within? But it also requires us to go within ourselves. That's the key. We have to go within ourselves to be able then to say, okay, if I change this one belief, I can make a change in what's around me. I can respond with my 90% to that 10% change. So that 1 in 100 change, 1 in 10. 10 things out of 100 that will change. If I need to be able to work with my group and I'm holding back on that propensity to change that mindset, to really focus in on saying, okay, what is it that's holding me back? I'm probably, I hope I'm similar to you. We don't like to make that cold call or put ourselves out. Sometimes it's just very difficult. There might be that one call that we've been avoiding. We might be avoiding that conversation with another person. I was in a meeting this morning, and what we brought up is, how do we connect? What if we don't like that person? How do we connect with that person? Well, first you have to value that person, regardless of whether you like them or not, that they are a person. They are created as equally as you are. You may not like what they do, but you have to love the person they are. You have to say, okay, we have a difference of opinion. So if my belief is, I will not connect with people I don't like, well, how do you know that you don't like them? You have to make that connection first to find out, okay, do we connect? Are we on the same path? Are we focused on helping each other in some way? Or will we get to the resolution of the conflict between us? If we are hitting each other, in essence, by our words, by our actions, by the distance between us, if we say this is our distance, how do we close that gap? How do we come together to resolve the situation, or at least make peace in our business environments? I know I found this in many times that I'm dealing with multiple groups. We hold back our opinion because there's this conflict that we can't say, well, I'm sorry, but I don't see it the same way you do. Let's talk about it and see, maybe we are seeing it the same way. It's just I have a different filter. I have a different perception. I have a different reality than you do. And maybe we can close that gap and at least agree that we have a difference, and we can come to an opinion or a solution that will take us and propel us forward. There's a story outlined in the Bible, and again, I don't put this to impress upon you my faith, but it's something that I've read and I read. And there's the story of going and circling the walls of Jericho. For 6 days, it was directed, you shall walk around the walls of Jericho. And on the 7th day, you'll circle 7 times. And there's more to the story, but the point is, we sometimes do those trips around the walls of our own Jericho, of our own obstacle, and then we give up. So if we have a change, if our Jericho is a change that needs to occur, and we circle it, but then we give it up because we say, well, it's not happening. Why is it not happening? Well, our mindset may not be set there. Our attitude may not be there. Our character may not be there. We may not be open. We may not be willing to commit to that change. How many people do you know that are still on flip phones because they have not committed to a smartphone? Not saying you have to buy a smartphone. Sometimes you're better off. But sometimes it's better to accept the change and move on. Cars change. Equipment. How many people do you know, especially maybe your parents, who said, I don't like those newfangled cars. Give me that old stick shift. I want the stripped down version. Car salesman dreams of their dream customer coming in saying, I want a stick shift. I don't want that newfangled computer stuff. And now we got on board your own personal vacuuming system, right? We don't have to worry about hauling a vacuum out. We just plug in the port and clean up the car. That's probably too much for some people. So what is it that we're called to do? We're called to make an assessment of our belief. Is there a belief that is holding us up? If one belief is holding us back, what am I going to do to accept changing that belief to go forward? Sometimes you're called to do that and you don't. Create that gap. We create that barrier within us. I leave you with these particular views from Albert Einstein. This particular sentence that I think is important to this topic of overcoming. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. We have a lot of intelligence. Do we put it to use? So Albert's not just talking about, what's my IQ score? Einstein's talking about how much of it are we putting to use? Are we willing to change? Are we having the ability to change? I help businesses change. I help businesses, business owners, business leaders evolve. To take their business, take their teams, take the culture, and evolve it to the next step. To remove the obstacles. I help individual people change within their lives to have a happier family life, to have more meaning in their life, to leave a legacy. That's all businesses are, if they're done right. How many businesses do you know that when the owner comes to his retirement or her retirement, the children don't want it, and the owner is either has to sell it or close it down? If we're future casting and future casting the needs of the future of our future clients, of what our current clients need in the future, we'll never have to close anything down. We'll just make it better. We'll have our teams have purpose. We're going to talk more in this series about what that means. How do we transform it? How do we lead it? What are the quick tips? But it takes work. It takes work to change because you have to commit to this change. You have to commit to this mindset belief, this belief that you tell yourself you're no good. Several years ago, I told myself I was exhausted. And I was, because I made it so. I pushed hard. I worked hard. I was putting in a process with the team. I was managing people. I needed to communicate with leaders across the organization, with people in management positions across the organization with certain responsibilities, certain ownership, certain silos of responsibility, to be able to effectively create a policy and a process that would help them manage their business better. It was exhausting. And in the end, instead of doing things where I was recreating and working on recreation, from that mindset, I was working on establishing processes. I was building relationships, but I was also trying to manage, so I was doing admin work, I was doing regular work, daily work. I was being a strategic advisor, and as well as creating a strategic direction for the department, for the what we were trying to achieve, the project, as well as being an owner of it, being responsible for people, you know, we all those things, so many hours in a day, meetings and prepping and giving the board of directors reports on time, as completed as possible, with data that sometimes, you're flying by at the seat of pants because people don't want to change and say, oh yeah, that data's there, we just make a change to your query and boom, you've got it. Or yes, we need to affect these changes in our department. Well, one does it, but then none of the other departments do it. And so you're putting it piecemeal together and it's never fast enough. Why? Because we're reacting. We're not thinking about, okay, what does the final view look like? And let's get there. So what is the change? The change is about closing the gap, about saying to yourself, here's the belief that I have. Here's the belief that I need to change. Here's what I need to do to make it all come out. Whether it's a cell phone, whether it's, these computer devices, whether it's how we have post-it notes now, whether it's how we maintain our external lawns, how we communicate like this, or in person, relationships are important. And we have to recreate within ourselves, recreate within our organization, our teams, within the world. We are always called to recreate. Thank you for joining. I hope if those that are listening in person or on the recordings, take a moment. Journal today. What is the one belief that's holding you back? And what can you do to change that belief and accomplish that difference in your world? Make that your difference today. We'll check in tomorrow. I hope you have fun. I hope you have a great day, because every day is an opportunity to have a happy new day. Get rid of the angst, get rid of the stress by looking at what's holding you back. Have a great day. Good times. Be well. And do good things. Take care now.